Santee chicken bog. Several years ago I was on a quail hunting trip. Now several years ago is my son's 42 and he was probably 8 when I got this recipe. So it's a long time ago. We were on a quail hunt trip down in South Carolina, and after the hunt they served this as a meal. It was so great. I asked the guy about it. He gave me I gave him my address and he sent me this recipe on this legal pad, piece of paper. You got to have chicken. You got to have sausage. Now if you use hard sausage, you could just slice these in half-inch sections. This has a skin on it. It's not like a hard sausage, so if you want you can skin it like regular sausage and cut it into pieces. You need chicken stock. We took half of a 4-pound bag of frozen chicken wings, drumsticks and the winglet part, and we cooked that in water, salt, pepper, and the chicken and celery and onions until it was all cooked. After that we deboned it, took all the skin off of it, and now we have pure chicken. So that's a pound of sausage, a little over a pound of meat, and the broth, and we'll put it together and show you how it turns out. To cut up sausage that has a membrane in it, the best thing you can do is cut the ends off, because this membrane won't become detached. Need a sharp knife, and I sharpened this one, and that membrane came off. And see, this one you can just make sure I got it in the view. You can just roll it down one side and generally it'll just come off. And then you take a pair of scissors and stick it under the end of the membrane and run it all the way to the other end and cut it. Do this with any membrane sausage type meat, and then you can cut that into the pieces and you don't have this floating into your Santee bog. Now here are all the pieces cut into about half-inch sizes. All the little pieces, just stick them onto something. It'll be in the mixture when it's finished. And see, here's all the skin that was on it. And when you, even if you didn't cut these up, the skin's in water boiling, making a dish like this would come off. This is a chicken stock that was left after we cooked the chicken for several hours on a low simmer. Put it in the refrigerator, and it got the grease came to the top and formed a skim, and I've taken probably at least 90% of the grease off with a spoon because I just want the stock and some grease, but you don't need to eat all that grease, folks. And the chicken has been cooked and it's been deboned, no gristles, nothing but pure meat. And if you want to fix chicken soup, the best chicken soup for taste will be if you use the wings. If you use chicken breast, it's sort of bland, but if you will use the meat off the wings, it will make the best soup you ever ate. Well, it's time to put this Santee chicken bog together. We've got the sausages cut, the chicken's ready, 1 cup of long grain rice, 1/2 cup of onions. Normally you would put the liquid in the pan, put the chicken in it with salt and pepper. I didn't name all the things before. 3 bay leaves, about 15 peppercorns, slice up 1 little piece of garlic, 1 little section of garlic, and salt and pepper, and cook the chicken, bring it to temperature, let it simmer for a while until it's tender. And the original recipe just called to put the chicken pieces in the water, and then when that's cooked and tender, you put the meat in and the rice in, and you're done when the rice is cooked. But it's sort of messy to eat it that way because you got gristles off the ends of the meat and skin and everything, so we choose to debone the chicken. But the problem is, see, the original recipe had onions in it. So my problem is I need to put the onions in because all those other extra ingredients were strained off the liquid. So there's a 1/2 cup of onions that was in the original recipe to cook the chicken. And now I'm going to saute this, and as soon as it's sauteed, I will add the liquid and be back with you. This recipe doesn't call for a lot of salt because you have salt in the sausages. Yeah, the chicken absorbs salt when you cooked it. Maybe a half a teaspoon of salt is all you need, and some pepper. And I have put that in the chicken broth that came off the chicken, and all this was strained. Another thing we put in here is we cut up baby carrots in half and put it in there when we cook the chicken. Alright, these have sauteed, so I'm going to add the liquid, the chicken broth. And I have some extra because when you put the rice in it, you'll may or may not have to add a little bit more liquid. And then this just needs to come to a boil, so I turn the temperature up. Back in a sec. You can see that the chicken broth is coming to a boil. And this stuff the sausage has a tendency to stick together because it doesn't have the skins on it. So I put that in first because it's just water in the sausages. And you can, when they hit the water, they'll start to cook. And once they cook around the edges, they won't stick together anymore. Sort of like meatballs. See how they've broken apart and they're all floating? So if you just give them a second and stir it around just to get them to turn over and under to where all the edges will get cooked. See, it's really quick. Then the next, you dump the chicken in. It's been in the fridge, so the grease congeals on it. It's hooked together. And then all you do is break it up. And once the hot water hits it, you'll have all the little pieces of chicken. I'll keep stirring and back with you in a second. Now, it's gone about 2 minutes. Everything is separated. You can see it. It's all individual pieces now. It won't stick together anymore. I generally rinse our rice off before I do this. I put it in a strainer and rinse it with the spray wand on the kitchen sink. But it just adds a little more starch to it. You can see the starch water run out of it if you spray it. So anyway, you just sprinkle this in and try to spread it around so it doesn't clump up too bad. And then you stir it up. It's at a boil. You would take it down to simmer, put a lid on it, and wait for the rice to cook, which will be about 25 minutes. And right now it's about 7 minutes after 6. Normally you would leave a lid on rice until it's cooked, and generally white rice, common white rice you buy every day, the cheaper kind, it'll take about 25 minutes. But since I'm making half of the original recipe, if I had the full 4 cups of liquid instead of the 2 we are using, it would be easier to control the liquid. See, and I can see right there that it's plenty enough liquid for that rice to swell up and be cooked. We're using our pizza pan. Here's some French bread, and we have put some nice low-fat margarine on it. They got a zero fat out by Parquet, that if you want to have your cholesterol like mine at 151, if you use that, it will enhance that. Have you ever burned this in your oven trying to broil it? Here's the secret. I'm going to screw this around so you can see. That is on broil. It is already up to broil, right? You cut it off. Place the bread in the oven. And you have less chance of burning it, because it gives you more time. The fire in the eye on the top is out. This is an electric range. And you will burn a lot less bread doing it this way. Now I got to put the Santee chicken bog in something for my bride to consume. Well, I've had the eye off. It cooked about 35 minutes. One thing, when you put the meat in it, if the meat was in the refrigerator, even though you brought that water to a boil before you put the rice in it, the meat, and once you cut it to simmer, you got to really wait a minute, because the rice is cooler, the meat and everything is cooler. So once you put if you put all the ingredients in at the same time, it'll take longer to cook. Where if you let the meat come up to temperature and put the rice in, it'll be done in 25 minutes. Time to serve.